In this session, we will discuss about measures of association. Measures of association. In many practical situations, we can identify various types of relations between variables. Sometimes we need to estimate how one variable is related to another or affected by another variable. In simple, you can say that now so far we have dealt with the x variable and y variable. Now using these measures of association, what we are going to identify is what is the relationship between these two variables, or else we can say how much one variable is affected on by the another variable. As an example, we can see about relationship between the student height and weight. Therefore, if you consider one variable as we will say it is x is the height, and if we consider y as weight, then we can identify if you need to identify whether there is a relationship between the height and weight of the student. Therefore, you can use the techniques of measures of association. And another example can be taken as the relationship between the patient's blood pressure and the amount of drug the patient takes per day. Therefore, these are some examples we can elaborate from these measures of association. And when we are going to discuss about the measures of association, according to the type of data, or in simply according to the, you can say it is the scale of measurement. Therefore, according to the scale of measurement, we are using uh, different techniques under these measures of association. When we are discussing the things in the previous sessions, we have identified that data can be divided into two major categories: qualitative data and the quantitative data. Under the qualitative data, when we discuss about the scales of measurement, we have identified nominal scale and the ordinal scale under the qualitative data. And for the quantitative data, it was identified that the interval scale and the ratio scale. If you are if your data follows the nominal scale, then you can apply the chi-square test to identify the measures of association. And if you are having or scale of measurement of your the considered data is the ordinal scale, ordered manner, then there is a technique called the Spearman's rank correlation. Therefore, this method can be used to identify the relationship among the variables if the data has the ordinal scale of measurement. And if it is interval scale or the ratio scale, then we can use the Pearson's correlation coefficient. For both these cases, interval or ratio, then you can apply the Pearson's correlation. Therefore, simply if you uh, go through on this note, then you can say that chi-square can be applied for nominal scale data, SPM and rank correlation can be applied for ordinal scale data, Pearson correlation can be applied for interval scale as well as for the ratio scale data. And simply, you can say about this also, for qualitative data, we can apply these two tests, and for the quantitative data, we can apply the Pearson's correlation. Therefore, when we are discussing about the types of data, I told you that according to the type of data, there are some limitations of applying the further statistical test. This is one example that we can take for it. It is because now we can say that for the nominal scale, we cannot apply the Pearson's correlation. Likewise, if it is nominal scale, you have to use the chi-square test. If it is ordinal, SPM and rank correlation. If it is interval or ratio, we are applying the Pearson's correlation. And if you see about the power of these tests, then this chi-square test has the least power, and Pearson's correlation has the most power test among these three tests. Therefore, in generally, we tend to use the Pearson's correlation if it is possible to, in whatever cases. Simply, you can say that if you are having quantitative data, you are not going to apply the chi-square test or the Spearman's rank correlation. In such situation, you are directly applying the Pearson's correlation coefficient. Therefore, if among these three tests, we can identify that this chi-square test is the least powerful test and Pearson correlation is the most powerful test. Now we will discuss about the chi-square test. If you need to measure the association between two nominal variables, in here also we have identified that chi-square is applied for the nominal scale of data. Now think about if you need to measure the association between two nominal variables, then we can use this chi-square test. And this chi-square, when we are using the chi-square test, actually this test is based on the chi-square distribution. There is a probability distribution called the chi-square distribution. Therefore, based on the chi-square distribution, you will apply this chi-square test. And this calculation depends on the two-way tables. It is quite like this. Now think about if you are having two variables as x variable and y variable. X variable and y variable. Therefore, you can say these are the values or levels of x variable, x1, then x2, likewise x3. Therefore, three levels for x variable, and for y variables, if you are considering two levels, then y1 and y2. Therefore, now you can see about this is said to be a two-way table. It is because using a simple table, you have denoted two variables inside this single table. Therefore, in the column manner, you can have the x variable, and in the row manner, you are having the y variable. Therefore, this is said to be a two-way table. Therefore, if you are having your data in a two-way table, simply you can see that there are two variables. Therefore, you have to use the two-way table to denote this data, and you can apply the chi-square test if your data presents on the two-way table. And if it is nominal interval or ratio scale, then you have to convert that variable into nominal scale data if you are applying the chi-square test. But in generally, we are not going to perform such things. It is because the previous slide also I told you that the Pearson's correlation coefficient has it is somewhat a more powerful test. Therefore, if we can apply a more powerful test, we never try to apply a somewhat a low power test, always powerful test for such data. Therefore, generally, we can say this Pearson as a parametric test. Therefore, we are applying the parametric test for ratio scale or interval scale data. Therefore, in such situations, we are not going to do it in a backward process. Therefore, if you can apply much more appropriate test, then we are going to apply it rather than converting the scale of the measurement of the given variable. And this is what we are saying as the chi-square test, the test statistics for chi-square test. This can be simply say as it is the chi-squared, and we can say, in other words, we can say this as the calculated chi-squared value. To calculate this value, you can use the equation summation I goes from 1 to r, summation j goes from 1 to c, or ij minus eij squared divided by eij. Here you can see that there are two summations, and if you see about the previous the two-way table, you can see that there are columns as well as rows. Here we can say that this I denotes the number of rows. According to this example, we can say that I is going from 1 to 2, and J is generally we are using J to denote the columns. Therefore, J is going from 1 to 3. Then in this form, you can have the summation. Therefore, according to this example, I goes from 1 to 2 and j goes from 1 to 3. Therefore, you can apply this equation, or ij minus eij squared. It is the difference between these two quantities, and then square it and then divide by eij quantity. Now we will see about what is denoted by this OIJ and EIJ. OIG stands for the observed frequency. I told you that we can apply the chi-square test for nominal data. Therefore, if you are having the nominal data, in general, we are having them as counts. Therefore, if you are using counts, you can apply the chi-square test. Therefore, the observed counts can be considered as the OIJ, which falls into the ith row and jth column. According to this table, you can see that this is the first row, first column. Here, this is the first row, second column, first row, third column. Then you may observe a value here. You may observe a value here in this cell. It is the value for first row, first column element. Here you can see it is the first row, second column element, then it is the first row, third column element. Likewise, we will have the values for this OIJ values. Those are said to be the observed values. And EIJ denotes the expected frequency falling into ith row and jth column. Now, these observed values are given for you. It is the original values we are taking by the experiment, and there are another set of values called EIJ value. Therefore, we have to calculate the EIJ value for each set. According to this example, we have to calculate 6 EIJ values. It is the first row, first column value, first row, second column value, first row, third column value, likewise second row, third column values. Altogether, you can see that 6 EIJ values we need to calculate, and it is said to be the expected frequency falling into the ith row and jth column. And this is the equation we can apply to calculate the expected frequencies. To calculate the expected frequency of it is simply EIJ value. It is how we can take this value. If I consider about this calculation, now think about I need to get a value for EIJ value. These are the uh, observed value O11 is O12 value, O13 value. Likewise, here you are getting O23 value, 21, O. And here you need to calculate the E11 value. First, we will take this value, how to calculate the E11 value. According to once you have obtained this table, you need to identify the row totals and the column totals. Here, you will get the row totals. This is the ith row total. Therefore, we can say if it is this T1, and if you are keeping this as T2, T1 and T2, you may get the numbers in these two places, first row total and the second row total. Like that, you have to take the total of these totals, therefore it is said to be the grand total. Then you can say that T1 plus T2 equals T. Then you need to do the same thing for the columns also. Here you need to get the, I will use the simple T. Here the column totals has to be obtained. Therefore, this would be T1, T2 and T3. Anyhow, if you add the T1 with T2, it should be equal to T, as well as T1 plus T2 plus T3 should be equal to capital T. Now you have identified the row totals as well as the column totals and the overall total or the grand total. Now to calculate this E11, what you can do is you can multiply the row total with the column total and divide it by the grand total. Therefore, according to this situation, what we can do is first we need to identify what is the row total associated with E11. In here you can see that row total is T1. Here it is the column total. Therefore, T1 multiplied by T2. Here you can write the E11 is first. According to this example, E11 is first. Here you can say the uppercase letter T1 into lowercase letter T1. This T1 is the this uppercase letter T with 1 is the first row total, and here this notation is for the first column total, and this has to be divided by the grand total, or we are saying it as the overall total, as the uppercase letter T. Therefore, this is how we are calculating the E11 value. And now we will see another example. If I arbitrarily select a value as getting the value of E23, E13. Here I need to get the value for E13. To get the value for E13, what I need to do is you have to identify the row total and the column total. Therefore, here you can see that row total is T2, T1. I need to calculate the value for E13, first row, third column. Therefore, first row total has to be used here. Then multiply this with third column total. Here T1 with T3 and divide this completely by the grand total or overall total, which is denoted by capital T. Therefore, using this method, you can calculate the expected frequency value. And this is how we are calculating using the this statistic, and how to calculate the expected frequencies. And this is the hypothesis that we are going to test under the chi-square test. And here what we are going to test is there is no relationship among the variables under null hypothesis, and alternative there is a relationship between two variables. Therefore, here I have used this as just two variables, but in the practical approaches you can say it as between variable x and variable y, or you can name if it is height and weight, you can say this as there is no relationship between height and weight. This h1 is there is a relationship between height and weight. Likewise, we can perform the hypothesis testing using the chi-square test. And if we are using this chi-square test, we need to define the hypothesis, and to test this hypothesis, we are using this test statistics. And using the test statistic, we will get a value. I told it as the chi-square calculated value. Therefore, here based on this calculated value, with comparing this value with the table value, we are saying it as the critical value, and this critical value can be obtained using the chi-square table. Therefore, if this calculated value is greater than the table value, it means the calculated value is greater than the chi-squared value, then we have to reject h naught. Otherwise, we are saying that we are accepting h naught. Rather than accepting, it is better if you can say that we are not rejecting h naught. Therefore, simply we can say that if calculated value greater than the table value, then we have to reject h naught. It means that we are rejecting this statement. It means that we are rejecting the statement saying that there is no relationship. Therefore, if you are rejecting the statement including no relationship, then it suggests that there is a relationship among the variables. Therefore, this is how we are performing calculation. Now you can see that once this value has identified as the critical value, then right hand side from that part, it is above that the region above the critical value is identified as the rejection region. Therefore, it means that if this is greater than, then it falls to the rejection region. It means that we are rejecting our null hypothesis, or we are saying this as H naught. Therefore, this is the decision rule that we are considering for chi-square test. And these are the steps that we need to follow if you need to perform a chi-square test. First of all, you have to construct the hypothesis based on your question. It means that you need to identify two statements, h0 and h1. There is no relationship between two variables, and there is a relationship between variables. For the chi-square test, you can use this as the hypothesis, and the only change you need to do is, instead of these two variables, you can write down the variable names there. All the other things will be same as this. Then you have to determine the expected frequencies. We have few minutes ago we have discussed about how to calculate the EIJ value. Those are the expected frequencies. Then we need to create a table with observed frequencies with the expected frequencies. It means that in the same table, it is better if you can, in the same cell, it is better if you can show down the observed value as well as the expected value. And thereafter what we need to do is we need to apply those values in the formula given as the test statistic. Then we need to calculate the value. Then we need to find the we are saying this as the degrees of freedom. It is always equal to column number minus 1 into row number minus 1. We need this value. It is only for reading the table value only. Here you can see that it is r minus 1 into c minus 1. Number of rows minus 1 into number of columns minus 1. The multiplication of these two numbers should be considered as the degrees of freedom for chi-square test. Therefore, we need to find the chi-square statistics in the chi-square distribution table. Therefore, using the relevant degrees of freedom you can refer for the chi-square table, and then based on the decision rule we have to take the correct decision. It means that if the calculated value is greater than the table value, then we have to reject null hypothesis. Or in other way around, if you consider if the table value is greater than the calculated value, we are failed to reject. Therefore, you can remember this inequality in one way. I think it would be better if you can just consider if the calculated value greater than the table value, then you are rejecting H1. Therefore, sticking into that decision rule, you can take the decision whether you are rejecting H0 or not rejecting H0. And this is one example I have included for chi-square test. In this example, we are going to have a study regarding the handedness with the gender. If there is any relationship between the handedness and the gender. Here we have identified under handedness, there are two categories, right-handed and the left-handed. And for the gender, male and female were identified. Here you can see that the counts, here this is an example for two-way table. Now you can see that counts. Here this 43 stands for the right-handed females. This 9 is left-handed females. 44 is right-handed males. 4 is left-handed male. Here you are asked to calculate the, just to identify whether there is a relationship between these variables, gender and the handedness. Now you can see that these are the observed values, these are the original values they have given for us. Therefore, this can be considered as the observed value. 43, 9, 44 and 4 are the observed value. Now, what we need to do is we need to calculate the expected frequencies. Therefore, to calculate the expected frequencies, prior to calculate the expected frequencies, we need to get the column totals and the row totals as well as the grand total or the overall total. Therefore, now we will see how we can get the these totals. Therefore, we can construct two another columns. Here, this column is for the row total and this is for the column total, and this cell denotes as the grand total. And this is the hypothesis that we are going to test. The null hypothesis. There is no relationship between gender and handedness, versus there is a relationship between gender and handedness. In the previous slides also I told you that the null hypothesis there is no relationship between, here I have mentioned rather than saying two variables, I have mentioned the variable name gender and handedness. Here there is a relationship between gender and the handedness. Now you can see these are the totals I have obtained for the female. 43 plus 9, altogether 52 females in this group. Here you can see that 44 plus 4, 48 males in this group. Now 43 plus 44, 87, 9 plus 4, 13, and if you add these row totals or the column totals, you can see that the addition of these values is equal to 100. 52 plus 48 gives the 100, as well as 87 plus 13 gives the same value as 100. Therefore, using this technique, we can check whether the calculations are correct. It means that the row total as well as the column total should be equal to a same number. Now you can see these are the totals. Then we can use these totals to calculate the expected frequencies. Now you can see that these are the expected frequencies which I have counted. Therefore, for the first cell, what we need to do is we need to multiply. If you need to calculate a value at this point, now we will see we need to calculate a value at this point. It is what we are saying as this. Uh, Previously we said this as E11 value. Therefore, to calculate this cell value, what we need to do is we need to identify the row total as well as the column total. Here you can see that 52 is the row total and 87 is the column total you have identified. Then you have to multiply these two and then divide it by 100. Therefore, This is how we are performing the calculation. 52 into 87 divided by 100. Therefore, in the next slide, you can see that 52 into 87 divided by 100 equals to 44, 5.24. In this cell, what I have done is the row total 52 multiplied with column total 13, then divide by 100. Therefore, expected frequency for this cell would be now equal to 6.76. Likewise, we can perform the calculation for other two cells. Therefore, now you can see that these are the uh, expected frequencies uh, of the given data. Now what we can do is in the calculations it would be better if you can follow this procedure. Now you can see that according to this example you can see that these are the values we are having. For the handedness we had the right hand and the left hand, and for the males and female here we had female and then we had. Now you can see that there are four columns we have obtained, four cells we have obtained, and we have already identified the row total and column total. And using those values, we have calculated the expected frequencies. Therefore, it is better if you can write down the expected frequencies. Here you can see it as 45.24. Here the value is 6.76. In this cell, you can see it as 41.76, and this cell it gives the value as 6.24. And if you see about the calculated or the observed values according to this example, the observed values was identified as here it is 43. These are the observed value 43. Here it is 9. This is 44, and this value is equal to 4. If you can write down all these values, this expected value as well as the observed value inside the same cell, then the calculation would be much more easier. It is because this is the test statistic we are using. Now we will see how we can apply this calculation inside this test statistic. In this test statistic, it says that I goes from 1 to R, J goes from 1 to C, and we have to take the square term, we have to take the summations for the quantity Oij minus Eij square divided by Eij. Therefore, if you perform the calculation, you can say this as the chi-squared. Chi-squared is equal to, here you have to take this as Oij minus Eij. Therefore, we will do it for starting from first cell, and we will continue the calculation. Therefore, first of all, we need to observe a value for Oij minus Eij square divided by Eij. If I write down the values, Oij value is the observed value for first cell. Therefore, it is equal to 43. Then 43 minus Eij value is 45.24. 45.24. Then square this and then divide it by the Eij value. Here you can see that Eij value is the 45.24. Therefore, this is what I have done for the first set. It is first row, first column set, and then this is need to add to the next value. The next value, observed value is 9 minus expected value is 6.76. Then squared is this value, then divide it by 6.7. Likewise, in the now you have finished the first row, and then you can move to the second row. It is now observed value is 44. It is this cell. Then 44 minus 41.76. Then 76. Then square this value. Then divide this by 41.76. And thereafter what we need to do is it is the last cell that we can see. Then we can have this value as 4 minus 6.24 squared divided by 6.24. This is the expected value. Therefore, using this calculation, you can get a value for this, and then this is said to be the value that we are saying as the chi-squared. Therefore, we can say it is the chi-squared using this calculation. Simply, you can obtain the value for chi-squared. Therefore, using this chi-squared value, now what we can do is we need to test this value with the critical value. To identify the critical value, you can use the table according to this situation. I have identified this value as 3.841. Since I have two rows and two columns, therefore 2 minus 1 into 2 minus 1 is the value 1. Therefore, 1 decrease with freedom. The relevant value is 3.841. And now what we can do is, according to this calculation, we can see that the calculation, well, if you perform this calculation, this have obtained as 1.7774. This has obtained as 1.7774. It means that, and this is the calculated value, and they have identified the table value as 3.841. Here you can see that this is somewhat the shape of the chi-square distribution, and here you can see this is the uh, critical value, or we are saying this as the table value, and this has identified as 3.84. But if you see about the place where the calculated value lies, and you can see that it is somewhat here. You can see that the calculated value is somewhat here. It is 1.7 7. This is the calculated value, and you have noted that this region is identified as the critical region. Therefore, if the value falls into this region, then we have to reject it. Therefore, now you can see that the value does not fall into this region. Therefore, we are failed to reject null hypothesis. Therefore, it is no need to reject the null hypothesis. Therefore, if we are not rejecting, means under H naught we have identified that there is no relation. Therefore, we can confirm that relationship, that statement. Therefore, we can say to conclude that there is no relationship between the gender and the handedness. Therefore, this is how we are performing these calculations under the chi-squared test. And this is one example. Uh, you can you try for this example by yourself. Therefore, this is what I need to discuss for the chi-square test, and thank you all for joining with this session.